Welcome back to Symphony Notes, a production of the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. I'm David Srebnik, pleased once again to say hello to the orchestra's music director and conductor, José-Luis Novo. Nice to see you again. I know it's February, but this is the first time we've seen each other, so Happy New Year.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
So we've been talking about this season in the context of the Beethoven 250th anniversary, so it's officially here. And what I've been pleased and purposeful in these presentations is to talk about how you've come up with a theme that's more than just playing more Beethoven, which would have been fine, but you've actually come up with a theme. And this program that we're about to talk about really supports this idea of Beethoven Discovers America. Just a brief overview of what listeners will hear at Maryland Hall.
So this is a beautiful example of our season, Beethoven Discovers America, because Beethoven, as you know, the great composer that we know him now is, have to have a journey like every other professional. Was born in Germany. At some point in his career, he decided to move to Vienna in Austria because that was the place where classical music was. It was the center of classical music at the time, and pretty much made his career there, established himself there. Then we have people like Bartók, Béla Bartók, the Hungarian composer, who's the composer of the Concerto for Orchestra, the last piece in our program, and he was born in Hungary. He studied there, did tons of research there, and at some point he decided he had to move to the States in 1944 when the Second World War and the Third Reich kind of came into power. So he brought that heritage of Beethoven all the way to the States, and then in the States, in the middle of our program, we are doing a new violin concerto by American composer Adam Schoenberg, who wrote this concerto for our soloist that is performing, and Akiko Meyers, just a year ago. So this music that traveled all the way to the States and now is being created here by our own composers sort of makes the full circle of Beethoven, Central Europe, the States, and now our own music.
So we'll get to the work by Bartók, the Concerto for Orchestra, one of his most powerful and popular works. But I want to get to the middle meat of the program, a new violin concerto called Orchard in Fog by American composer Adam Schoenberg. This is a love story, but it also is a story that looks at a man late in his life, reflecting through this view of this orchard, of the time when he had married his wife many years ago in a similar setting. And there is, I wouldn't say a sad or tragic look at death, but it does relate to this idea of as we get older, we become closer to the earth.
But I think that it really is a beautiful journey, and this is the part that I like about connecting, as we were talking earlier, about the subject of Beethoven Discovers America. It's also a journey of someone that is looking back into his life, and it has many different layers, so that our audience knows what we are talking about. Adam Schoenberg has a picture on his bedroom that was taken by an American photographer, and is a picture of an apple orchard that was taken at the orchard where Adam was married. So this has a lot of connotations in Adam's personal life. So he's used that as a source of inspiration to sort of backtrack, seeing himself as an older person, himself or someone else, but I think there is kind of an autobiographical element. backtracking back in life and seeing all the good things and the bad things, but as you say, also feeling that you are closer to the end. And it's a beautiful way of condensing life in one journey from a specific point of view.
And if you forgive the cliché, the soloist who commissioned the work, violinist Akiko Meyers, and this composer and the music, match made in heaven.
Yeah, we don't think that Akiko Meyers knew Adam Schoenberg that well when she commissioned the piece. I mean, as a composer, obviously she has to know him enough to trust that he was going to produce a good concerto. But I think that they both obviously had great synergy, because Adam came out with a piece that just fits like the perfect glove to Akiko Meyers, and she can really shine in this piece.
I mean, there's no doubt that she's a virtuoso violinist, or can play in a very virtuosic style, but this is a different type of virtuoso playing. First of all, most concertos are fast, slow, fast, and in this work it's slow, fast, slow. And you know, one of her many gifts is to be able to play slow and lyrical, and so that's the other, I think, reason for this fitting the hand that fits the glove, and every other cliche that we want to add. I think you're really going to love this piece. So you mentioned the concerto for orchestra. So we're talking about a violin concerto where the violin is the star. What is a concerto for orchestra? You know, as they say in Hollywood, there's only one star. So how does that play out, a concerto for orchestra?
Well, if we were to follow the Hollywood trail, then the star here is the orchestra. But obviously the orchestra is composed of many different families. So the orchestra is going to be featured both as a one instrument, but also as a family of instruments. And each of the different families are going to have incredibly relevant parts. So the beauty of this piece is not only that the music is great, but it's also that it features the orchestra in that capacity of virtuosic instrument, in which not only the orchestra as an instrument, but particular instruments and sections of the orchestra are going to be featured very prominently. So it's great fun to play because it's challenging, and is an incredible experience as a whole, because the whole piece fits together wonderfully well with the typical arch creative thought that Bartók had in mind.
This is a work that is also incredibly expressive and emotional and passionate. And my theory behind that is that he had a very special craft. And that craft, and knowing the orchestra and how it works together and how it sounds, put him in a position to be able to write these really powerful and expressive and dramatic lines and phrases.
Yeah, and for me it's particularly special because Bartók managed to put so many different languages together. As you know, being a core composer of the 20th century music, his writing could go different directions, but in this piece he manages to bring the post-romantic sound of the orchestra together with the folk traditions of Hungary and all the folk research that he had done, plus the avant-garde tendencies of the dodecaphonic school of music and atonal tendencies that Bartók manages to blend all seamlessly and come up with a language that sounds perfectly logical, that you can't always say is tonal or atonal, but it all makes sense. And this is for me as a conductor, one of the things that attracts me to this piece is Bartók came up with his own language, harmony language, that is so incredibly imaginative.
Yeah. And again, I think the craft his craft made it possible for us foreigners to understand Hungarian,
Yeah.
or the multitude of European dialects that show up in this. So the program begins with the Leonora Overture Number 3 by Beethoven, another famous work by Beethoven. And you say this work was innovative, or maybe the right word is it was a game changer in Beethoven's day, something that exists in full strength 250 years later.
Yeah, because it's just interesting. Beethoven only wrote one opera. He was a very prolific composer, but in the field of opera, he did not feel as comfortable as other composers, such as Mozart. And one opera, and then he composed 4 different overtures. Leonore 3 was the last one. It was composed after the fact, after the premiere of the opera. But in the end, it became one of the staple overtures. But what is more important is that the piece itself is so self-sufficient that it sort of gave new light to how to start a concert with a work that is so incredibly powerful, that says so much in so little, and that it's sort of a synopsis of the opera in 13 minutes. So because it has all the drama, all the plot, the problems that create, and then the resolution, and then the glorious ending. So if you want to tell people, if you don't have time to listen to the whole Fidelio, then just listen to Leonore 3, because you get the feeling of the power of the music, but in just a much narrower time frame.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this time together. The next concert by the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra is taking place at Maryland Hall. The dates have been scrolling through as we've been talking, and tickets are available at AnnapolisSymphony.org. Thank you, and thank you.